Good afternoon. I'm so happy you're here. It's 1 o'clock on a Tuesday. That can only mean one thing. It's time for another episode of Get to Know Them. I am so excited about our guest today. Before I introduce you to her, my name is Monica Graves. I am the host of Get to Know Them. And if you haven't watched the show before, I go live on Facebook every Tuesday at 1 o'clock and I talk to people from all different walks of earth, people I know who are so inspiring, and they come on here and they share their stories. And I hope that they lift your spirits and give you something interesting to listen to, which they all do. They're all awesome. So thanks so much for being here. I do have a couple of show sponsors that I wanted to talk about before I bring on our guest. And our first show sponsor is Brenda Badome. I'm always wearing her clothes. I was just straightening out my top here. So she is a clothing designer located in Toronto, Ontario. Check out her website, brendabadome.com, and use the coupon code Get to Know Them for 20% off your order. Our second show sponsor is a place I love to hang out, and that is at Scooters in Mississauga. Scooters.ca is the website. If you guys are thinking about trying roller skating, maybe it's been a lot of years since you've gone, come out to Scooters for a skate. They actually have lessons Thursdays at 7. So do not fear. You can get your groove back in no time at all. I'm proof of that. I took the lessons. I've been skating for over a year and I love it. So please come out on a Thursday night. I'm sure I'll be there. And our third sponsor is located in Oakville, Ontario, flourishandbasque.ca. Chantel Ingram is the owner, and she has a wonderful assortment of alcohol-free beverages for you guys to try. Beautiful shop, and she's got beautiful glassware. It's worth a trip there. And again, use the coupon code Get to Know Them. She'll give you 10% off your order. Last but not least, in our list of sponsors, I also sponsor my own show with my creations, Glam Jewels. You can check my website out at glamjewels.com. It's spelled GLAMJULZ.com. And please reach out to us. We also do a lot of fundraisers for people. So if you have a cause that you want to raise money for and you're excited about, please reach out to me. I would be happy to help you. And yeah, we can chat all about it. Now, let's get on to our guest for today. Renata Pollock is joining me. I'm so excited. I'm going to pull up her bio here and read it to you. Here we go. So, Renata is a photographer here in Halton. She is well known for her 40 over 40 project, giving women over 40 an opportunity for an editorial magazine style photo shoot to share their personal stories and celebrate with other women. Renata started her artistic journey working with clay back in Brazil, where she was born and raised. At the time, her heart was already in photography, but she couldn't find an accessible school to learn more about it. When she came to Canada 22 years ago, her experience with clay paid off. She started a career in ceramics. Renata participated in art fairs in Halton as well as the Toronto Outdoor Art Exhibition. In order to improve her chances with curators and potential buyers, she dedicated a great deal of time to photographing her pieces. Renata was coached by an experienced photographer who she met at the Burlington Art Gallery, where she spent most of her time. After a few months of hard work, educating herself and receiving positive feedback about her photography, she decided to finally embrace her dream of becoming a full-time professional photographer. Soon after, her efforts were rewarded when she won first place for the 2020 Creative Pictures Award with her outstanding photographic representation of her own family in My COVID-19 Family Portrait. Go on her website and look at this portrait. It's so amazing. And I actually posted it to my Facebook page as well, but you have to see it. It's so great. Today, Renata has her own photography studio in Oakville, where she shoots timeless photos in a variety of different styles. She's got the gift of drawing out the true essence of her clients. Here she comes.
Hello.
Renata, how are you today?
I'm pretty good. How are you, Monica?
I'm so good. You know what I've never told you before?
What?
If I had had children, Renata was my favorite name for a girl.
Oh, really?
That was always the name I thought if I ever have a little girl, I'm going to name her Renata. And anyway, I didn't have any kids, but I'm so happy to know you because you're actually the first Renata I've ever met. And I
Oh,
love you.
oh, I love you
You,
too.
yeah,
Thanks for
your
having
name
me
is,
here, Monica. We
I'm
didn't see
so
each
excited.
other for so long, right?
I know. It's so
It's,
crazy.
it's so
Yeah,
nice to reconnect.
it is. And then we ran into each other at the
The one of
Women
a
in
kind.
Leadership. Oh, one of a
Oh,
kind,
yeah,
but also
remember?
just recently. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah. Maybe a
the
couple of years
breakfast.
ago. Yeah, and the
Yeah,
breakfast.
yeah. I know. It's so good. It was meant to be for today because I've been
Yeah.
thinking about you so much. And there's so much to uncover because you have a great story. And before we get into that, I do have to ask you the question I ask all of my guests, and that is, what did little Renata want to be when she grew up?
What I wanted to be. I There were two things that I wanted to be. When I was really young, it was a jet pilot. I thought I would join the Air
Cool.
Force and be a pilot. And then I became more realistic and I wanted to be a lawyer. So
Wow.
until when I finished high school in Brazil, was a different system. It
Yeah.
was 30 years ago to go to university. When you finish high school, there was this huge test that all the students would do, and I did that test to go to law school. But I
Ah.
didn't enter law school, which I think it was good because I can't see myself as a lawyer,
Yeah.
and here I am.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So you wanted to be a lawyer, like you were
Way
going for
back
it.
when I was 17.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh. And why was that intriguing to you? Did you know someone else who was a lawyer or
No, I didn't
was
know
it-
any lawyers.
yeah,
I just found it fascinating. I guess watching those movies, those
yeah,
watching the lawyers debating, and I thought that was fascinating.
yeah.
But I honestly I cannot picture myself as a lawyer
I
today.
That's so funny. I mean, I guess as a lawyer you have to be creative too, but to me it's like that left side, right side of the brain. I can
It's
never
totally
remember
opposite
which.
of what I do,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, I'm not
yeah,
into like office work, the 9 to 5. I like to be more creative. So yeah, lawyer wouldn't
yeah.
wouldn't be a good career for me.
So you didn't go off to university to become a lawyer. What did you end up doing after high school?
I had to get a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents were separating when my last year of high school, and I just had to get a job, start working. So that's what I did back in
Wow.
Brazil. Got a
God. And
job.
what did you work? What was your job?
It was my first job. My first job. It was
Yeah.
in an engineering company that built metallic structures. I think that's what I
Okay.
would say, like build big
Yeah.
buildings. Um,
Right.
and I used to work in the computer department. So it was, oh my God, I don't know if it was the same name in English, but the computers was like a 486. Was that the
Yeah.
same here? Like a PC, like
Yeah. Yeah.
really, really old stuff. Remember the green screen?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was
I
like that.
I
So
remember it well, Renata. My first job coming because I have a similar background to you in that like after high school I didn't go off to college or university. I had to work. Same thing because really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I remember my first job was at Canada Post and I gave out postal codes, like my first real job. postal codes over the phone. So people would call in and we would have that old computer system like you're describing, enter
Yeah.
in the postal code and the address and up pop the postal code. But you'd get every lonely person, all across Canada phoning into this call center. It was so funny. But yeah, that's
That was,
interesting. Were
yeah,
you bored?
before the internet, right?
Yeah. And
Way
were you bored
before.
out of your mind doing that job? Were you bored?
How long I stayed there? I think about a year and a half. And
Yeah.
it was really far. It was really far from my house. So it was a trip to
Yeah.
get to work and come back, take the bus. It was long.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh.
yeah, it wasn't, well, it was a great experience. I'm grateful that it was
Yeah.
my first job.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't stay long. It was hard. The commute was really, really long.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine. So after that, well, now you're doing photography, but before that you were working with
Oh, I
clay.
had a
Like,
series of jobs that, well, yes, I didn't go to university, to college or university. So I had a series of jobs. After that, I worked for the biggest magazine company in Brazil.
oh,
It's called Editora Abril. So it was this huge place. I worked in the, how do you call? The call center. The call center.
okay.
So
Yeah.
people who had a subscription and they didn't receive their magazines, they will call us, and we had to, send a new one, a new
Ah,
magazine for them. So I worked there for not too long. Again, it was far. It was
yeah.
like my city. My city was similar to, let's say, Hamilton to Toronto, the commute I
Okay.
had to do, but with a lot more traffic because Brazil
Mhm.
has a lot more
Yeah.
people. So I guess I
Yeah.
stayed there for about 2 years. And
And
then I
what
got it.
kind of magazine was it a fashion magazine or
It
what
was
kind of
all the magazines. So this company,
oh, I see.
they
Like
had
a
all the
distribution.
magazines, like
Yeah.
let's say there was one like McLean's. There
Yeah.
was women magazine like Chatelaine, kids magazines, a
Yeah.
lot of magazines. Playboy, which funnily was one that there was a lot of problems with delivery. Like nobody ever received that one.
Oh
The
my God.
doorman, the doorman who kept that one, we had to send another one.
Hilarious.
Yeah, a very big company. And then
Yeah.
after that, I went to work in a municipal daycare center in my town, in my hometown. And I worked there, so taking care of little kids. Like
Yeah.
I stayed there just over a year, and my kids, they were between 1 and 2 year olds. So that was
Oh,
interesting too. That was
yeah.
different, a very, very different environment. And it was very shocking because it was in my town, but it was in a slum. It was in a
Mm,
place I had never been to. So it was, the social shock that, oh my God,
yeah.
this is how some people live. And
Yeah.
it's so close to me. And I didn't know, I had never seen in person. Um,
Mm,
but it was a great experience working with the kids for that year. And
yeah.
after that, and during that, we started. So my husband is from Canada. This is telling how I ended up in Canada, right?
Yeah.
So my husband's family is from Canada, and we had been thinking for a while about trying life in Canada. And it was during that job at the daycare that we decided to, okay, let's give it a try. Yeah,
Beautiful. And so how did you meet your husband?
I met him. I was in high school, and I
Hmm.
had two great friends in my classroom, two my best friends in high school. And one of these friends, she was dating his older brother, his brother.
Oh,
that they
okay.
knew from another. We were all from different cities because they had, um, my friend had a cottage in the same town where they lived because they lived in the middle of nowhere. Um,
Oh,
so she would see him, her boyfriend, on the weekends when
yeah.
they went to the cottage. uh, and she kept telling me about, oh, you need to meet my brother-in-law. You need to meet my brother-in-law. And eventually we
Oh,
set up something to
yeah.
go out, and I met him
That's
and we
so
have been
cool.
together. Yeah.
And so his family is from Canada originally. There,
His family is from
and they were
Montreal. Yes.
okay. And
And
they were
but he
living
was
in
born
Brazil.
in Brazil. His father worked for
Oh,
Gillette at the
okay.
time, and he was transferred to Brazil. He was transferred to Rio,
Right.
where my family is from. My whole family is from Rio, but I
So
was born
cool.
in São Paulo, and
Okay.
so they were transferred to Brazil, and his family, his father really liked there, and they ended up staying. They stay in
Oh,
Brazil. They travel a bit, went to U.S. and Japan, and went back to
yeah.
Brazil, and yeah, and that's how we met.
Oh, that's so neat. I love
Yeah,
that. Yeah, that's one of those like one in a billion chances, you
yeah,
know? Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
so cool. So when did you pick up the first piece of clay? How did that how did you go from
That was
magazines
back
and
in
kids to
Brazil. Yeah, that was
yeah,
back in Brazil. I think it was when I was working at the daycare center.
okay.
Um, and I went in Brazil. We don't have, although the population is so much bigger than Canada.
Yeah.
We don't have like recreational, centers, cultural centers, as much as we have here in Canada.
Okay.
I see like here in Burlington how many community centers we have for a small
Mm.
city. My city in Brazil was almost a million people, the population at the time, but with very few libraries, very few, like a couple of community centers. And I knew that one of them, they had art classes, and I wanted to take. I always liked photography, so I wanted to take some classes and learn properly. So I went to this
Yeah.
place, and they didn't have photography.
Oh,
No, they had. I think they had theater classes. I don't remember much, but they had ceramics. So I was there. So I said, okay, so I'll take ceramics. So I started going to the ceramic classes, and I really enjoyed it. Um, and did that for, I think that was about a year before I moved to Canada. And
mhm.
once we moved here, first we lived in Toronto for 1 year before moving to Burlington. And in
Okay.
Toronto, I found a ceramic studio that I traded services with the studio owner. So he needed someone to be there during the day because it was a little store. Where was that? Runnymede, I think, Runnymede Street
Okay.
in Toronto. So there was
Wow.
this little store and the ceramic studio. So I will exchange time using the ceramic studio, and I will organize and clean up and prepare the clay and organize the studio for him. So that was really nice. That's how I started with the clay here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
That's
we moved to Burlington. After 1 year living in Toronto, we moved to Burlington. My husband got a job in here in Burlington, and he commuted for
mhm.
1 year. And then we decided to, okay, let's go and check and let's move closer. So we moved to Burlington, really close to the Burlington Art Center. So I went
Oh,
to check, and I was amazed with that beautiful pottery studio that they have there. And I
yeah.
joined the center. I joined the Pottery Guild, the Potters Guild of Burlington, and I started pretty much to live there
Yeah.
at the studio. Yeah.
So cool. And you did so many, like you were in the Toronto Art Exhibition. Your work was,
Yeah,
it was
that
pretty,
was a big one.
yeah.
I was constantly, it was a time in my life that I was going through some serious health problems. So I couldn't hold a job. I didn't actually have, I was still waiting for, it took a long time for me to get my permanent permanent residency here. So I couldn't
Mhm.
like legally have a job, and with the health problems too. So it was, going to the studio was my therapy. The days that I was feeling good, I would go. It was like walking distance. We lived in an apartment downtown Burlington, and
Yeah.
I would just walk to the Burlington Arts Center, spend my day playing with the clay, learning, and yeah, and then eventually, like I was making so many pieces that eventually I started to sell them, right?
Yeah.
And one of the highlights of that time for me was being accepted at the Toronto Outdoor Exhibition Show, because it's a juried show every summer in the Nathan Phillips Square in Toronto,
Mhm.
and it's very hard to get in. Uh,
Yeah.
so just the fact that I was accepted, that is, yeah, that was the top of
Amazing.
my ceramic career.
Yeah. Isn't it funny looking back on those shows, hey? It's like another lifetime ago.
Yeah, yeah.
The yeah, but so much fun. And I wanted to ask you too, Renata, when you came to Canada, had you already learned English in Brazil or
No,
no? So that was another thing you had to.
no. So I was
Wow.
used to, because my husband's family is from Canada, so they would speak English at home. So when
Yeah.
I was visiting them, I was getting used to hearing the English, but I didn't speak anything. I could
Mm,
understand a little bit, but to talk was really hard for me. So when we
yeah.
came to Canada, I didn't talk for about 6 months.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
It
my
was
gosh.
very, very hard for me to. And
Yeah.
I learned how to speak in English pretty much watching TV and listening to music, because, well, I had
Great.
no choice. I had to learn, right?
Yeah.
But being alone, so we were just the two of us. He has family here, but we rented a basement in Toronto, and we were living
Mhm.
there. And okay, I will go out by myself, but I realized that I didn't really have to talk to many people to do the things that I need to do, right? So I went
Mm,
and I got my library card, so I could just go in and pick a card and show, pick a
yeah.
book, show the card. I didn't really have to uh, talk to anyone. And
Yeah.
when we were together with family, I was just so embarrassed that of saying not speaking properly, of saying
Mhm.
things wrong, of my accent, that
Mhm.
I just close down. So instead of
Yeah.
talking to someone, like for my husband and his family, instead of talking to the family, I would, you know, say to my husband, like, am I saying this right? And he was like, talk to
Yeah.
them, don't talk to me, talk to them. But it took me a while
Wow.
to get
Yeah.
going.
Oh, that must be so hard because, like for in the time I've known you, you're so approachable, like you love to have a good conversation. So to like come back, you know, like to be in Canada and then it's like you can't speak the language and you feel
it
this
was
shutting down.
it was a
That must have
big
been hard for
shock.
you.
It was a big shock
Yeah.
when we arrived. I remember it was in May. It was just before the long weekend in May, the holiday, Victoria Day. And everything is just so different than Brazil. I felt so. It was like I was thrown into this place that I don't
Mhm.
understand. So for him, he spoke English. That was, that was fine
Mhm.
for him. But for me, listening to people talking and not understanding what they were saying, and looking around and not recognizing anything, because I felt like I had jumped into a movie that I used to watch on TV, those
Yeah.
American movies, that everything was different. The cars were different, the roads, the houses were different. So that's, yeah, it was very, very strange. It was like
Wow.
I'm in a movie and these cars are so big. I remember
Yeah.
I remember that, like, oh my God, the cars here are big.
Yeah. What do they need all that for?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So did you want to just like pack up and go home? Was there any point where you said to your husband, let's go back or
No, the first
no?
day, I remember the first day. So we stayed for the first month, we stayed with his cousin in Mississauga, while we were looking for a place to live, and he was looking for a job, because we came with nothing lined up, no job, no place to live.
Mhm.
We packed 2 suitcases and we came like that.
Wow.
Kind of crazy. Now looking back, I'm like, oh my God, what
Yeah.
were we thinking? um, the first
Incredible.
day, so we arrived at her house in Mississauga, Jillian's house, and then her whole family came to see us. I knew his cousin because she had visited Brazil, so I met her in Brazil, but I didn't know the rest of his family. So just
Mhm.
meeting all those people that day, and they all talking, and me just, sitting there. And then my family, my mom, I think my mom and my uncle, they called, and that was the thing for me. I'm like, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
When I talked to my family, it was, yeah, that was, I think it was the only moment that I was like, oh my God, what are we doing here? What have I done? But
Yeah.
no, no, no regrets, no regrets.
Good.
I love
No, I did.
it.
I just, that just fascinates me. Like I can't imagine, just being immersed into, which is what a lot of newcomers coming into
Yeah,
Canada are
yeah,
experiencing. Like it's pretty
uh-huh,
traumatic stuff. Like it's
yeah,
not easy to,
no,
yeah. Wow. So Renata, that onto the photography, which is, I'm just, this is so cool that it came back. So you were doing your pottery and then you were taking beautiful product shots. I remember those product shots. You did a beautiful job.
yeah.
And and so you had a mentor at the art center who was kind
So,
of teaching you
so
or
yeah, I always liked to take photos. So I
hmm
bought a little camera, a little bit more fancy with the controls to play around. I bought actually from one of the Photographers Guild at the Burlington Art Center, and to because I was selling my pieces, I started to photograph them. I just wanted to have a record of what I was making before I let those pieces go. And when I decided to apply to the Toronto Art Show, I had to send some really good pictures. I had to send like some professional stuff to
yeah.
have a better chance, because there were thousands of artists applying to be on that show. So the pottery studio or the art center is right across from the photography studio, and and everybody there at the art center was so nice to me. Everybody was so friendly. So I met a few people there, and one of these photographers, he offered to help me um, prepare those photos for the show. So I took my pieces there, and he showed me
Mm,
how to do it and helped me, and we did the photos. So that gave me a little bit more on how to photograph my pieces, and I just started playing with that more. And I don't even remember how exactly it happened, that it was just so fluid from clay to camera. I just kind
yeah.
of, oh yeah, that's what happens. We we moved, we moved. I used to live in that building where the movie theater is in downtown Burlington,
Okay.
close to City Hall.
Yeah.
So just walked to the art center. And then we bought our first house in 2006. And that house was on Guelph Line and Mainway. So I wasn't
Wow.
going to the studio anymore, right? So I got
Oh,
busy. I got busy um, renovating the house, doing, a bunch of things in the house. And then I just wasn't that close to the studio. We had only one car at that time. So I just wasn't going. And I guess I didn't miss that much because yeah, it was like that. I just stopped going to the studio, and I just started taking photos. That's what
wow.
happened. Yeah. Gosh, I didn't remember that.
So, oh, that's good. I'm glad it came
That's
back to you.
that's
Isn't
how
that
it
neat
happened.
when, yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
Hmm.
So you were doing product photography for and then when was it that were you always fascinated by people? Like, did you know that's where your
No,
true love
no.
was, or?
So with the little camera I got from the photographer that I met there, his name was Peter Young. So he sold me my first Canon it was an automatic camera. It had some settings, so I play with that, and I would photograph all the flowers. I would photograph everything. And that the year after we moved and bought the house, I got my first job in Canada, which was doing school photography. So I saw this ad, a company called Pegasus School Images, and you didn't need experience. Like if you like taking pictures, come see us. So I went there,
Oh,
and I got the job. So that was my first contact with studio strobes with those
yeah.
things. So we had 2 weeks. I think it was a 2 week training. So they would teach us everything because school photography, everything needs to look the same. So
Hmm.
everybody and most people there didn't have experience taking photos. Um, so everything is measured. Everybody has to have the set looking exactly the same, the distances, so the pictures have the uniformity, right? And I
Hmm.
really enjoyed that, playing with the camera and playing with the lights. Um, so I was there for it's a short time. Just when the kids go back to school, we
Yeah.
go to all the schools between September and end of October is when
Okay.
the school photos get done.
Yeah.
So after that, I continue playing. I got my first speed light, and I start trying to do some different photos at home. And
Hmm.
what really got me into photography, okay, I'm going to work with this. I had a very good friend at the time that she was a doula, a birth doula.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so at this time, I already had my son. Yeah, when I worked with the school photography, that was about the time I met you. Um,
Yeah, that's
was
right. So,
2007. I did school photography was 2007 and 2008. I think it was
yes.
2008 that I met you and I worked
I
with
think
you.
so. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I was just gonna say that because I have to let people know. So anybody out there who may have purchased glam jewels in 2008, maybe I think 2008,
yeah, maybe
Renata's
yeah.
beautiful hands
Uh,
touched those beads
I
because she was
made them.
helping me then making jewelry.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah,
talented girl. You can do it all.
so after that, after I worked with you, so 2009, I had my son. So that
Okay.
was, was just wanna be home with him
Hmm.
until around he was 3 when we both start getting antsy and like, okay, we need to we need to
Yeah.
do something else. And this friend suggested that I look into birth photography, and I was like, what is that?
Whoa.
Because I never heard of that, right? So I looked it up, and it was fascinating. Um, and it was big in the US. I don't think there were very few people doing that here in Canada. And that was, I think it was 2012 that I started doing that. So you
Wow.
go to, so people who are having a baby,
Yeah.
they hire a photographer to register, the story of that birth. So take photos of, the whole day, because it's a long process, right?
Yeah.
Usually, people who are into this, they are having a home birth. So you go to
Hmm.
the house and you're just like a fly on the wall,
Wow.
observing and taking pictures, not interrupting, just looking and registering that moment. And that,
Yeah.
so I did that for about a year. I was building my
Wow.
portfolio. Okay, I wanted to get experience. I wanted to see how this is. So I did 8 births. So I saw 8 babies being born.
Oh my
Um,
God.
well, actually, no, two I didn't see, because one, the doctor asked me to step outside. They didn't want
Oh.
photos being taken. And one was a C-section, a twin C-section that will be amazing.
Mhm.
But same thing, the doctor did not allow me in the operating room.
Mhm.
Um, but I got to photograph the babies right after that. And after
Wow.
doing that for a year, it was very
That
interesting.
must have been crazy. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
and
pretty wild.
and
Did you
interesting
feel,
because
uh,
I'm not good at seeing blood.
yeah.
And it was amazing that, like, it did not affect me at all when I was doing that.
And did it affect you like to see the woman going through this? Like to be on the outside looking in, like to see her in pain and to see the
No,
whole,
I was just focused
oh,
on getting the shots.
that is
I'm here
so
to
wild.
get the shots. Yeah,
Oh
get
my
the
God,
shots. So
Renata.
after that, I will make, and it's beautiful. And honestly, I
Yeah,
wish I had that from when I had my son. So I'll make
you do.
a slideshow with music, and I will mix. At that time, I was using video, so I will take
Okay.
photos, and I usually will have a little camera, a second camera, to capture some video and to capture the sound,
Mm.
the first cry, baby's first cry, and I will
God,
put that in the video, with the photos and video mix, and it was so so nice. But
that
I
is amazing.
realized,
I did not realize that that even existed, that people
yeah,
would want that or that you could do that. That did you ever, I'm very curious about this. Did you ever witness like a wife like yelling at her husband? You know, you see that on the movies and you did this to me. Get, you know,
no,
any
no,
of that? No.
I had some pretty calm births.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I assume
very.
in that because it's such a delicate subject matter, like it must be like a, is it very confidential, like who the clients are? This is just for,
No,
the
no,
husband
it
and wife
depends on
or,
the client. Like, I had one client,
yeah,
because her husband was well known, she didn't want that online.
right.
Um, but no, because I have it on. I put the videos on my YouTube, so there are
Oh,
still
okay.
old videos there on
Yeah.
YouTube. Yeah, showing the birth.
So cool. God, you're amazing. Okay, sorry.
But
Keep
after
going.
doing that
I,
for a year, I realized it wasn't my calling. Because you have to be on call. It's like
yeah,
being a doctor, right? So
right.
I remember one of them, I think it was actually on Halloween. It was 11:30 at night. I was going to bed and my phone rang. And they were like, we're at the hospital, baby's coming. And that was like a month before her due date. So I get dressed, I
Mhm.
pack my camera, and off I went. And I didn't know how long I would be away. So the thing was, I didn't know when I was going to work, and I didn't
Mhm.
know how long I was going to work, right?
Right.
And at that
Yeah.
time, my son was like 3 years old. It was hard because then I had to, you know, get his grandma to come and look after him, but I
Hmm.
didn't like having to ask that all the time. And I was like, you
Yeah.
know what, this it's not it yet. So I try a bunch of things after that until I get to this.
Yeah. And this is what amazing. So you've got your own studio now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's where you are right now. We can see, and I
Yes,
love
yeah.
your wardrobe beside you. So,
Yeah,
and
oh
are
God.
you only photographing? It, I love, and is it women only now that you're photographing,
No,
Renata?
no. I
Or okay.
photograph. I do a lot of headshots
Mm-hmm.
for realtors and lawyers, small business owners. I do a
Yeah.
lot of branding photos. Everybody needs something for social media. We are always posting. People
Yeah.
want to see us, right?
Yeah.
And I'm getting back to families because that's how I started. I did a lot of things. I did newborns, I did weddings. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I kept trying, like, no, not this one, not this one, not this one,
Mhm.
until I got to studio portrait. That's what I like. um,
Yeah.
the lights, the control. If it's
Yeah.
raining, I don't care. We can still have the session, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so
Great.
eventually I ended up here, but somehow people started coming just for headshots. I started more with families,
Mm-hmm.
but then I just went into, oh, it's headshots and branding. And now I want to do more, go back to families. I like doing large groups. Um,
Okay.
like generations, make like a really nice big
Yeah.
portrait of generations, grandparents and their kids and their families. So
Beautiful.
yeah, so not just women, everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about your 40 over 40 project. How was that born? That's a
That's a
great idea.
project. Like I wish I could say it's my idea. It's not. There is you will see other photographers doing the same project
Hmm.
because we follow the same photographer mentor, and that's where
Okay.
it started with Sue Bryce. Um,
Ah.
but it's a project for geared toward women over 40,
Hmm.
um, to make them be in front of the camera, you know, love themselves. It's so I feel like after 40, to me was like after 40 I started living.
Yeah.
Just finally figuring out who I am. I'm 49 now, but just finally, okay,
Yeah.
finally knowing more who you are as a person, and what you love, and finally loving myself. That took a long time to
Hmm.
start. Like my hair, I was 44 years old when I started liking my hair. And
Oh,
now looking back, I'm like, that is so crazy that I live at
yeah.
44 years with a nice hair and I didn't like it all, right?
Yeah.
So this project is to make, to put women at the front. I feel a lot of women are like me, that you were wives, you were mom, and everybody comes first. And you were never, literally, you are never in the picture because we are taking
Mm.
photos of our families. We are constantly taking photos of our kids, and we are anywhere to be seen. So
Hmm.
so this project is to put the focus on you. Like, you deserve to have an amazing portrait. You deserve to look like a model because you are amazing. So that's the
Yeah.
idea.
That's great. And so then, the women can come and they have this photo shoot done, and then you're actually taking all of these books or these books, all of these photos, and you're compiling like a
A
magazine
magazine,
to see.
yes, yes.
That's
So
so
at the end,
great.
I'm making a
Yeah.
magazine. They come for their session, they have their
Yeah.
makeup done, and I designed to really look like a magazine, like a fashion magazine. So on
Beautiful.
one page, I have their portrait, and on the other page, they are writing a story. They're telling a little bit about themselves. And I asked them to bring 4 items, 4 things that they can't live without. And I photographed that. So while they are getting the makeup done, I photographed their items. And then they are going to write a little bit about, why they love this and, you know,
Ah,
so it's this nice page, this nice spread of, all about them. It's really cool.
wow. That is very cool. What a
Uh-huh.
wonderful idea.
Thank you.
So Renato, so I was gonna ask you sort of like what's next for you? What are you most excited about? Which you kind of answered in that you love to do these generational photos, family
Yes,
photos.
yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
that's a big one that I want to do more.
yeah.
I love doing large groups, those Vanity Fair type photos. So I want to
Yes.
get more into that. And another thing this year, it's a project that I'm doing with a friend called Portraits of Houghton. I
Ah,
don't know if you saw my website.
yeah, yeah. Tell us
So
about that. Yeah.
yeah, so this project I'm working with Carolina Pombo, and she is a therapist, but she's also a writer. She's Brazilian also. So we met,
Hmm.
oh, maybe a year and a half ago in a Brazilian event. And she saw
Hmm.
I had a table showing my photography, and she saw and she loved my work. And she got in touch after to talk about this idea that she had about a book showcasing people who live here in the Houghton region. And I really love the idea. So I am photographing, and she interviews the people who are participating, and she writes a little bit about them. And we
Yeah.
want to eventually, hopefully by the end of this year, have a book like a coffee table
Hmm.
book with all
Yeah.
these wonderful portraits and showing people who have always lived here, people who came from all different
Yeah.
countries to make Houghton home. So that's a really cool
Beautiful.
project. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah,
Mhm.
I love that. I hope, are you going to actually be in it? Will your portrait be in there? And your
We
story?
did, yeah, we did because we need.
Yeah.
Okay, here are the people who made this book. So yeah, we need to
Yeah.
have one
Good.
one photo of us there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so the same
Beautiful.
thing. One page is this nice portrait, and the other page is the story that Caroline is writing,
Yeah.
Carol. And I have photographed Mayor Marian Midward for the
Amazing.
project. Um, I have photographed White Eagle. I think you know her, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know her.
yeah.
They've both been on my show.
Oh, yeah,
Both of them have been on the show.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they are
I
in the
met
book.
I actually met White Eagle through Julie Cole. And I don't, Julie Cole from Mabel's
I never
Labels?
met her in person,
Okay.
but I know, like, yeah,
Yeah.
through,
So Julie
through
Cole, I can't remember. Oh, I know what it was. White Eagle posted that she had just bought roller skates and couldn't wait to get out skating again. And Julie Cole said, "You need to meet my friend Monica." And then we met
Oh,
like that week. We met up at roller skating and it was so good. It's so
oh,
nice,
that's
like
so
when
fun.
people connect us this way, and
Yeah, I met
yeah.
her at
So,
a chamber event that I went last year, and
yeah.
she wasn't on my table. It was a whole day event, and she was on the
Hmm.
next table. But then during the break, she came over and sat down to chat with us, and I was like, I need
Nice.
her. I want to have her in the book. So we got in touch
Beautiful.
later, and I did her photo. I think it was last summer. Yeah.
Great. Have you been to any of her full moon ceremonies? Have you tried them?
No, not yet. Not
Maybe
yet.
we can go together, Renata,
Yeah, I
to
want
one.
to go.
I went to one and they're so powerful, really
Yeah,
beautiful. So,
yeah.
yeah, if you ever want to go, I'll go with you.
Okay, let's go together.
Yeah,
That and
yeah.
roller skating. I'm
And roller
coming.
skating. We got lots of plans in our
Uh-huh.
future. Yeah.
I'm coming with you.
Yeah. Do it. Well, I'm so excited and I hope I get to work with you sometime soon because I love your styling and everything you're doing. You're so talented.
Thank you, Monica.
Yeah, and I'm really happy for you that this whole love of photography came full circle and
Uh,
you are doing what you love.
it took a while,
Yeah.
it took some detours, but here I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you really, Renata, I have to say you're really like sometimes I feel like we talk about ourselves and we tell our life stories and I don't know if this is the case for you, but we kind of underestimate ourselves because we do something, we have the experience. It's like, oh, it's no big deal. I did that, I did that. But listening to you and
Yeah.
all of your experiences, I mean, even like that photography that you did with, at the time of birth, like that takes a lot of bravery, I think, to be in a room with people at such a vulnerable and delicate time. Like I think it's just amazing that you did that. And then, coming here to Canada, to this new country with your husband, and just trusting that this was going to be a place where you could call
It will
home and
work out.
leaving everything behind in Brazil. Yeah, you're quite extraordinary.
Oh,
I
thank
think,
you. Yeah, I
yeah,
think we do think like that. They're like, oh, boring life. I never done anything. And yes,
yeah,
sometimes it takes somebody else pointing out to for you to
yeah,
see, like, oh yeah, actually, I did
yeah.
things. Yeah.
For sure. And even like the time when you were living in downtown Burlington and you got up in the morning and you went to that art studio and you just kept working at it, that's not everybody can do that. So
That
good
was a
for
great
you.
time. I loved that place. That place was it was during a hard personal time because of my health
Yeah.
problems, and the Burlington Arts Center saved me. It was
Beautiful.
my yeah, it was my therapy there. It was great.
Yeah, I love. Have you been lately? I went there just a couple of weeks ago. I met a friend at Sunshine Donuts, and
Oh
then
yeah.
she said, "Yeah," she goes, "Have you been into the art center lately?" I said, "No." And they have that beautiful like little walkway with the tropical. They have like the heat.
Yeah.
We should go there today. It's probably feels like Brazil in there, like
Yeah,
the
well,
nice
that's
warm.
what I had to
Yeah.
walk to by that every day to go to the pottery studio because the
Oh,
pottery studio is right at the end.
right at the end.
So I'll
Okay.
walk by the little garden.
Yeah, so nice. I didn't even know that was
It's a
there,
very,
or I
very nice
forgot.
space. Yeah. I have to
Yeah.
go there again. I have to go there more
Yeah.
often.
Gotta go back.
Yeah.
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 Oh, Renata, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your
Thank,
story. Yeah,
thank you
you're
for
awesome,
having
girl.
me, Monica.
Oh,
That was really cool.
good. I'm
Thanks for
glad it was
inviting
and
me. And I'm so
see,
glad I said yes because it was like,
it's
oh my God, I never done a live before. Oh, and
see,
it's
and now I get to say I was the first one to interview the famous Renata. There you
okay.
go. Yeah, it's so perfect. And so we'll have to visit each other in our spaces and
Yes,
stuff
come
too. That'll be
over,
good.
come see the
Yeah,
studio, have a coffee with me, and we will
perfect.
book. You have maybe you'll have to drag me to go skating, but I need to
Yeah.
go. I know I need to go. Yeah,
Yeah, you got to check out the place. Even for you, like visually, you'll be like, "Oh my God,
yeah.
it's so neat."
Well,
Yeah.
I see
Did
your
you?
videos. I see your photos. Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is so fun. I need to go.
Yeah, it's a
I'll go with
portal
you.
to happiness. Yeah. Did
Yeah.
you roller skate in Brazil? Did you have a place
Oh
where you
my
could
God. I
go?
have one memory of roller skating in Brazil. There
Yeah.
was this place in my town. I don't even know what that was. It was kind of a club and
Uh-huh.
it was huge. I think it was kind of like, oh my God, how do you say that? Um, like a basketball court,
Okay.
something like that. But it was like an older building because it was all wood. The floor was
Oh,
all wood.
yeah.
And they opened a roller skating club there. And I
Wow.
was, oh my God, maybe 7 or 8 years old,
Yeah.
I would think, and had never skated before. And I remember the skates, they were brown with red laces and had the number behind. I remember exactly.
You remember that? Oh,
And I
God, I
went
love it.
there with my father and my sisters. And my father, amazingly, he decided to go skating. And I just remember that he put his skates on, he got up and down to the
Fell
floor
down. Oh,
immediately. And the noise, because it was the wooden floor, the
yeah.
noise was so big. Um, that's my memory of skating in Brazil when I
Oh,
was little. Yeah, we didn't skate on the streets because we have a lot of hills
yeah.
where my city. But yeah, we went to that place. They eventually closed down, and then my father went there and bought some of those skates that they used to rent. So he bought
Oh,
for us. But then we had
sweet.
nowhere else to go skate. But we had those.
That's
Oh
so
man,
cute.
yeah,
Oh, that's a great story. And a lot of the rinks in the States are, the floors are wooden.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be better, but I don't know.
Oh
I've never
yeah.
been on one. I'd love to
No.
try. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, I remember that was
Cool.
like, geez, 40 years ago, over 40 years ago, and I
Yeah.
remember as if I was there.
And also because your dad fell down, that probably really
Yes,
it
exactly. It
kept
was
the
the
memory.
noise that it was just so big. The
Yeah.
noise
I
was so
remember this is
loud.
an embarrassing story from my dad. He's passed on. I don't think he'll mind me sharing this. So my brother and I used to go fishing with him all the time. That was like our thing, right? So we'd be up north, and there was one time we went fishing and my dad had to go pee. So he stood up in the boat and he fell over. And oh my God, Renata, I remember it like it was yesterday. I
Yeah.
freaked out. Like I was like, oh, my dad, because they're like these big, strong, I was probably the same age as you. They're like
Yeah.
gods and they don't fall down. And it was just the shock, like, oh my God, he's gonna drown. And he just, started laughing, got back in the boat. It was no big
When
deal
you're
for him.
little, everything is
But
so much
yeah,
bigger, right?
yeah. And then those memories,
Yeah.
yeah, it's sad to say,
It
but
just
that's the
stays
that's
with
the
you.
time where it stays. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
totally.
It stays with you. Uh-huh.
Oh, so funny. Yeah. All right, my friend. I could talk to you all day. I just
Yeah.
love you.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
Thank
Come
you.
over soon. Let's
Yeah.
get one
Okay.
day. Get you
For sure.
here.
And we just found out, everybody, that we're 5 minutes down the road from each other. So
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
you're right around the corner. It's
Uh-huh.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good. Okay, girl. Thank you so much. I'm going to put you in the virtual green room. I'll be right back to you, and
Okay,
I'll just say
thank
goodbye
you.
to everyone. Thanks,
Bye.
Renata. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. She's so lovely. Honestly, an extraordinary life. I'm so happy she shared it here for the first time. And I will see you guys back here next week with another amazing guest. In the meantime, do check out our sponsors. You can check out my website at glamjewels, GLAMJULZ.com, scooters.ca if you want to come out for some roller skating, brendabadome.com for some beautiful clothes. Use the coupon code Get to Know Them for 20% off your order. And flourishandbasque.ca for some alcohol-free beverages and beautiful stemware. And use the coupon code Get to Know Them with Chantel, and she'll give you 10% off. Thanks so much, everyone. Keep on showing the world your sparkle, and I'll see you next week.